Hello and welcome back to another 3 a.m. production video. This is my attempt at a visual podcast where we talk about animation and comic books and we draw some of your favorite characters or even characters that you've never even heard of, all while I'm giving fun facts about it. If you're a subscriber, welcome back and I appreciate you very much. If you're new to the channel, well, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you like it. If you follow along with the video, I'd love to see the drawings you guys do. If you have ideas for future videos, let me know in the comments down below. Or if you have any constructive criticism, I'll take that too. Without further ado, we're going to talk about the GreyGhost. Now, the GreyGhost wasn't just the name of the episode, it was the name of the character of Bruce's favorite TV show when he was a kid. He used to watch this show with his dad, and there's an episode where he's like sitting in this gray ghost costume that he has, and he's watching this episode, and we find out that there's a mad bomber. Well, this man in a fedora and these gray cloak and goggles has to stop the mad bomber. Now, young Bruce ends up falling asleep during this episode, so he doesn't get to see how it ends. But young Bruce even has the action figure of this character. But in the present day, somebody is recreating this episode, and under the guise of the mad bomber, is blowing up banks in Gotham City. The Batman is starting to investigate, and he kind of remembers this old show from when he was a kid. So he goes to a video store to check out a copy of the show so he could try to investigate, only to find out that Video Clerk doesn't have the show. Nobody has the show. The studio that made the show burned down, and all of the negatives went up in flames. So Batman goes to the library and starts finding books on actors, and eventually comes through and finds Simon Trent. Now, Simon Trent was voiced by Adam West, who was Batman in the 60s television show. Now, Simon Trent has been typecasted as the GreyGhost and hasn't been able to work since because everybody remembers him as the GreyGhost. And even though he's an actor and he could do other roles, nobody's willing to give him the chance. So he's having a hard time paying rent and his bills, and so he has to sell all of his memorabilia and stuff from the show to a local toy store just to get money for rent. So when he goes back to his apartment and has finally paid rent for the last time, and now all of his apartment is bare bones, he takes a nap. But when he wakes up from his nap, all of the memorabilia he just sold is back in his apartment, with a letter to meet him on a rooftop in Gotham, signed a friend. So Simon Trent goes and he has a box with him. And when he discovers that the friend that asked him to meet was Batman, he starts freaking out and gets scared and starts backing away. And eventually they hear a sound and it's familiar to him. And so he runs away and the building explodes. Batman has traced him back to his apartment, and it's like, I know you know what that sound is, and starts looking for answers. And so Simon Trent goes to his closet, pulls out an old reel that he has from the show. He's like, the answers that you're looking for in here, take it and go. And this exchange happens.
I used to admire what the GreyGhost stood for.
I'm not the GreyGhost.
I can see that now.
And Batman goes out the window. Now, back at Wayne Manor, he sits down and he has some popcorn and he watches the old show, and it has a nostalgia feel for him as he remembers the show from when he was a kid. But he finally finds the answer he's looking for, that the bombs are being distributed as these little toy RC cars. So he goes back out as Batman, and these RC cars are starting to try to kill him in mass quantity, and he gets saved by none other than the GreyGhost. So the GreyGhost pulls him up off the rope, and the two of them decide to work the case together. Eventually, they end up back in the Batcave. He's in awe of that the Batcave looks a lot like the GreyGhost lair. There's even a secret room in the back of the Batcave that has all of the memorabilia that Bruce has from the show. Even Batman says this about the GreyGhost.
Let me show you something else. As a kid, I used to watch you with my father. The GreyGhost was my hero.
So it wasn't all for nothing.
But after he's running fingerprints on an RC car that they took from one of the crime scenes, they find out that the fingerprints on the car match Simon Trent. So Batman discovers that maybe Simon Trent is behind this dastardly plot, except this doesn't make sense because he sold all of his memorabilia to the toy store guy. Now, the toy store guy is actually a fun little nod to one of the producers on the show because it's a caricature of him, Bruce Timm. And he even got to voice the character. So Batman and the GreyGhost go back to the toy store and confront the Mad Bomber. And as the episode is concluding, Simon Trent gets a stroke of good luck because he's now sold all of the rights and has digitalized the old show. Now everybody has access to it. So now he has a renowned fame. He's getting some attention. He's getting some money in. He's even making public appearances as the Grey Ghost. Bruce Wayne goes to one of these, and even in a sly way kind of reveals his identity as Batman to the Grey Ghost. Now this episode is good for a number of reasons, but besides the cameo from Adam West and one of the producers, Adam West had a lot of history with the Batman character, and paying tribute to his real life kind of attribute of playing Batman and how it had affected his life going forward. It's just kind of a fun nod, but also it pays off a lot of history that West has with this character. The animated series was directly more influenced from the '89 Batman film, but when Kevin Conroy was auditioning for this show, he didn't know anything about Batman. He knew the character existed. He briefly had some notion of the West show from the 60s. And when he said that, the producer's like, no, we love Adam West, but we're not doing that. This is something different. So to see it come back and still influence the show was really cool. But one of the reasons that I wanted to do this episode was because when I was rewatching this episode the other night, I listened to what Batman was saying and how he was talking about the Grey Ghost, and I realized the way he talks about the Grey Ghost is a lot how I talk about Batman, and specifically Kevin Conroy's Batman. The impact that the animated series and the Arkham games and his voice to this character has had on me in my life is kind of very similar to the Grey Ghost had to Batman. It's what inspired me for 2 years to try to work on doing storyboards and a script for a movie that I didn't know if it was going to see the light of day or not, but it was worth it to me, just to pay tribute to a man that gave me a lot in life. In this version, Batman has attributed how he goes about his crime fighting to the Grey Ghost. Now, the Grey Ghost kind of is a riff of the Shadow, which is also how Batman was created off of. But Easter eggs aside, it's the legacy of these characters that we admire so much. Everybody can bring something new to the role of Batman. Adam West is very different from Michael Keaton, who's very different from Ben Affleck. But Kevin Conroy got to voice this character for 30 years in a lot of different ways, doing new emotional twists and turns to the character, but also doing different versions or iterations of these characters, but still finding a way to tie in the same basic core element that is Batman. And he will always be my Batman. If any of you are interested in that tribute that I paid to Kevin Conroy, I'll link that video down below. But again, I want to thank you all for coming and watching the show. Maybe if you drew along, you'd post it in the comments below. I'd love to see how you did. If you have any ideas for future characters, post them. I'm having an idea where if I can get some people to comment, I'll put them in a digital pull them out of a hat thing, and we'll just go off that for a couple of weeks. If not for the rest of the show. I want to do episodes that you guys find interesting. I've had a lot of characters that have inspired me over the years, and Batman is definitely one of the top contenders for the most inspirational, but, Spider-Man's another one. Maybe you guys have some characters that are that influential in your life that you want to post in the comments below. I'd love to know about it. But until next time,